Chris Landry, one more segment on a Monday. Go to LandryFootball.com, also on X at LandryFootball. Chris, before we kind of peek at the Super Bowl, and of course we'll talk about that next week in detail, but the Lions and Ravens just way too early. Looking at those teams, of course, a lot's got to happen with the draft. We'll see what happens with free agency. Are they going anywhere? Do you anticipate maybe a step back? Just kind of a 10,000-foot quick flyer over both of those organizations.
I thought it was interesting what Dan Campbell said last night, and it shocked me when he said it because you don't hear coaches say this, but it's what I think of all the time. I've been blessed in my career to been to several Super Bowls and be on the winning end, being on the losing end, and I've been in the conference championship games. And I tell people that it is the toughest loss that you can have. You know, losing the Super Bowl is really tough because you get that close to winning it all and you don't get it done. But there's something, Jake, about making it to the Super Bowl. It's kind of like making it to the Final Four. It's an accomplishment in and of itself. When you lose the conference championship game, it sucks. It is awful. It is, in fact, it is one of the things that got me out of the business and into consulting because ulcers and health problems, I didn't handle it well at all. And Dan Campbell said last night, and everybody thinks, well, they made this jump in Detroit, and look out, I don't know. He's built a good culture. We'll see if Ben Johnson takes the Washington job. If he's the guy, we'll know here in probably 24 or 48 hours. Who leaves? It's not going to be the same team. The division is getting tougher. Green Bay's really getting better and young. Chicago's getting better. Minnesota will have to make some. This may have been their best chance. Up, that much. I don't know that they're going to get back. It's just you remember it when it used to be. At least I remember when it used to be where, in their 70s, 80s, before the advent of free agency, you could pick at the end of the season who was going to be the two or three best teams in next year because you know who they were going to bring back, and you don't necessarily know who they were going to add, but the young guys would only be depth pieces. Now it's a crapshoot. I know Kansas City's good every year and going to be good, but I don't know that I can say the same for Detroit. I don't know if they're even a playoff team next year. I think they probably will be, but it's going to be difficult. Baltimore, they've got to figure out how to take that next step. They've got some of the same issues as well. They probably got a better overall roster than Detroit, but that's what I feel bad. I sit here, I'm excited for Kansas City and San Francisco, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to tell you, I suffered more in losses like this than I ever enjoyed the wins. I know that's sad, pathetic, but I am feeling really bad for those, and I do every year, for the teams that lose because it may never be as good as it was this year. And you've got to fight that, and you've got to fight that in your building to make sure that you don't allow it to get that way because you're going to have to add some new pieces, maybe some new coaches, and, because some of them are going to leave. I think it's going to be quite the challenge for both of them, particularly Detroit, who they've got to figure out, hey, look, this is something that they're going to build on. Now the expectation is, hey, you're not going to sneak up on anybody. You're going to be expected to win, and that's a different position that they've been in obviously, in decades.
I know you'll look at it all week long, and, of course, we'll talk about it next week, but just way too early. Which way do you lean, 49ers or Chiefs?
It's going to be hard to convince me that the Chiefs won't win this. With Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare and a Patrick Mahomes, those are two advantages that you just and I'm just going to say this. I looked at the tape again today, and I late last night I was looked at it. San Francisco got outplayed by Green Bay and Detroit, and they deserve to be here. But I got to tell you, they are not getting away with that against Kansas City. They're going to have to play light years better. I thought that they would need to play quite a bit better against Detroit. I thought they would beat Detroit. I thought they would play a lot better, and they didn't. They got dominated in the first half. That Detroit running game absolutely ran over them. And if Kansas City can run the football and you've got Mahomes making plays left and right, I don't. It's a long way, but I can't see myself envisioning taking anybody but Kansas City in this game. And I'm not going to, certainly the Niners are absolutely capable of winning it, but not the way they played the last 2 weeks. I can tell you they're going to have to play better. And if they do, then I'd like their chances. I know they're a favorite, but they don't look like the favorite when I break down the tape. So they're going to have to play much better in my view.
Chris Landry talking NFL football, Monday edition of the program on X at Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. Chris, college question. We'll get you on your way here. I was looking at some recruiting stuff over the weekend with a lot of the classes that are kind of, coming together and the final rankings. We'll have the National Signing Day Part 2 in a couple weeks, but that's kind of a nothing burger compared to what we get in December. And, when you look at the ACC, boy, Miami has really done a great job in the transfer portal. The last 3 years, they have done good. Very good. 5, 8, and 13 on their class rankings, depending on the outlet you look at. You can make a case that they have the best, at least on paper, this year, the best roster talent in the ACC. Florida State's right there. Clemson's right there. They get Cam Ward. But then I look at Mario Cristobal, who's, I believe, 75 and 74 in his career. Spent some time at what I call the Nick Saban rehabilitation camp before he took the job at Oregon. With that roster, the way it looks, it looks like they should be really, really good this year. But then you look at Cristobal. Is it fair to say that he is somewhat of a liability for any roster, if that makes sense?
Yeah, first of all, it's the transfer portal in the modern age of recruiting is what flipped things in the favor of Florida State over Clemson, and it's what's putting Miami over Clemson because they're doing a better job of acquiring talent than Clemson is. So they're not just closed the gap; they've closed it and going the other way. But you hit on it. I think Florida State's well coached. They did a really good job with Mario. It's more than just the debacle against Georgia Tech in the sideline mistakes. That team underachieves. Quarterback development, how the players develop in that system. They've got a really good sugar daddy or two that's involved in the collective that's allowing them to get a lot of talent, and they're doing a good job. Can he put a staff together that's going to do a better job coaching than what they've done before, or is it going to be a contender underachieving? I would make, from a roster standpoint, I would agree with you. They look like the best-looking roster in the ACC. They took, Cam Ward, who's now got experience, and a lot of experience, and I think that can be a difference for them. But I don't trust them until I see much more improvement in terms of the week-to-week game planning and game day adjustments and sideline management. That has cost them, and I don't know that I would trust them at this stage of being any better until I see it.
Chris Landry, always a great job. Make sure to find him on X. Give him a follow at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. Chris, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the week, and we will visit next week. It will be Super Bowl week.
Hey, you bet. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate you.